stool. But today, it'll be a flat-out sprint race through the streets of Toronto, Canada, where some of the fastest production cars in the world will go at it, door handle to door handle, winner takes all. It's the Motorola Cup, North America's most exciting racing series for street stock automobiles. And it's brought to you by Motorola, web without wires. By Derringer, complete logistical solutions. And by Castrol, track-proven performance. Hi, I'm Jim Martin, and welcome to Toronto, where we're just about set for the start of Round 5 of the Motorola Cup. With me today, as always, Terry Earwood, champion street stock racer and chief instructor at the Skip Barber Racing School. And Terry, we've got a couple new and very interesting star cars in the field today, too.
Yo, buddy, we have a Ferrari 348 and a Porsche 993 in addition to our other hot rods. I tell you, these are going to be some great cars to look at. They're very expensive, exotic cars. You know, we've seen Detroit Iron win these races all year long, and now Germany's best. They won Daytona, they won Le Mans. Now let's see what they can do in Toronto.
And behind the wheel, one of Canada's better-known racing drivers, actually teaches racing, coach with the Players Kart team, Richard Spinard, who at one time was a teammate in a Formula Atlantic team with Gilles Villeneuve.
Well, there's a fair amount of difference between the American cars as the Mustang and the Firebird and the Porsche. I believe the Porsche is probably a better package because it has better brakes, handling is very good, the traction is very good. But in return, the Firebird and Mustang seems to have a lot more power. So on the back straight here in Toronto, which is fairly long, they have a huge advantage of on me. They take, I'd say, at least a half a dozen, if not more, car lengths by the time they get to the braking zone. So I need the distance to be able to compete with them because they're going to wear out their brakes, they're going to wear out the tires, where my car should stay a little bit better through the duration of the race. And toward the end of the race, they're going to get weaker, where I should be still strong.
The other thoroughbred in the field is the Ferrari 348, and we asked one of the drivers, Dr. Stephen Earle, about why he would take a $125,000 car out on the streets.
The racing is really what they were made for. They're built for maneuverability and high speed and heavy braking, and it's just a lot of fun to come out and mix it up with all the cars. I mean, it's when you have a short course like here in Toronto and 44 cars starting a 45-minute race, probably in 3 or 4 laps you're into lap traffic, so it's just a lot of fun.
We had a 12-lap race here yesterday, and just before the start, a thunderstorm flew through the area, sending our Canadian cameraman scampering from their towers, sending the crews down to change tires on some of the cars. We don't have any video, but we've got some great onboard highlights.
On board we are with Richard Spinard in that Porsche, one of the most expensive cars on the racetrack right here. Ready to start down in turn 1. It's about 7 cars abreast. He gets caught in the middle. Mustang on the right, V8 Firebird on the left. A pretty expensive piece of meat in this sandwich among the V8 cars. As we talked about, not quite the torque going down this long straightaway. He's going to be on the wrong side of the track because the right-hand turn at the end down there, you've got to be on the right at the start. Notice he keeps looking over to the right. He's trying to get a hole. He's trying to get into the right side, but he gets passed by more and more of the bigger cars. Now, hard braking zone, he can outbrake them. We get on board with David Lacey. Here's one of your V8 cars. Looks like he's running third right now. Got a pass on the outside. That doggone hunt going into that corner. But yes, the Firebird sticks his nose in there. Late brake. You see the car wiggle around. The Mustang thinks about going with him, but no, the inside, the apex is the preferred line. This is a real tight corner. It actually goes uphill. Notice how the Firebird goes sideways for a minute because there's a hump in the road. Now we have to turn a hard left. So whoever runs up the left side of the chute, and here comes Lacey. He's going to try to run the left side, get that apex away from the Firebird. And where'd the Firebird go? Well, he don't care. Now we're going. This is a long right-hand sweeper. You can't see through this corner. It's sort of blind faith. You just keep adding power and adding power. Well, as long as that Firebird isn't there, you can add power. We fall back to 4th place at the start. Now we drop in to our sports leader, Andy Lally. That's in a Z3, a whole different class of cars back here at the back. They're all fighting for the lead going down the end of the long straightaway. Again, we talk about going into the right-hand turn first. You want to be on the right side of the road if there are a lot of cars there. Otherwise, you need the wide radius. He can't decide where he wants to be right now. He likes to sort of tuck in behind the right side of that. Oh, look at the power understeer, that front drive car. If you jump on the gas, it's sort of off-camber there. It really smokes the front tires. Now, Andy's going to stick his nose in here to this apex in the left-hander like we talked about where we saw Lacey there a few minutes ago. Long right-hand turn. That Acura went somewhere. He didn't drop off the face of the earth. Now on board Richard Bernard again with the Porsche 993 as we come down in the back section. Now, a lot of these corners, when they lead from one to the next, for instance, we have a right-hand turn coming up, followed by a quick left, quick right, and then the front straightaway. So a lot of times you're getting ready for the most important corner. This is not it. He sticks his nose in here just to try to get some position. This next right-hander is a throwaway turn. He can let the Firebird have the right-hand turn here. But coming onto this front straightaway, we have the left side of the track. We have the preferred line. We can track all the way out to the wall, and that Firebird is dust behind us. It's just like shooting poo. You're always set up for your next shot.
Bob Endicott setting up the Acura in front of him. Now, this is an expensive GS class NSX in front of him. Bob Endicott's driving a touring class Integra. Now, watch this car as he comes through the really tight pieces of the racetrack on a street circuit, very tight. Precision is what it's all about in handling. Now, look at this little Integra. Drive to the inside of the $80,000 NSX and take away the position. Bob Endicott in the little touring class Acura Integra goes by the NSX.
A street circuit, a lot like racing in the rain, is a great equalizer. Because it's hard to put the power down on the big cars. You really can't use the high horsepower. Here on the long straightaways you can, because we're back with Steve Earle. He's in that Ferrari, remember, and the Ferrari doesn't have quite the power the V8 does, but boy, he can outbrake him, and he definitely can out-corner him. Now, coming up this corner, this is not his corner. It's going to be a late braking attempt, trying to get down to the apex. That Firebird, Marty Miller's still there, but he pops Miller in the passenger door and throws him into the wall. That was using some of the late brakes we talked about.
Late brakes or otherwise passing at a premium on the race circuit here. Some people had a little better time than others. Doug Godin, the number 11 Powell Motorsport Pontiac Firebird, though, had pretty much clear sailing in the second piece of the race. It was a short one, only about 12 laps altogether. The rain continued, but Doug Godin brought home the number 11 Sunoco Firebird in first place at the end of the day. Doug Godin pretty happy in spite of the race distance today.
Quickest race I've ever been in my life, except maybe a go-kart race in the parking lot next to my house back when I was about 5 years old. So, yeah, it was real quick, and a win's a win, and the points are the points. I don't care.
So the win gives his teammate Devin Powell the pole position for today's race. The finishing order of yesterday's set the grid for today's contest in Toronto. We're going to be right back with the start from the Molson Indy round of the Motorola Cup, round 5 in Toronto. Welcome back as we get set for the start of the Motorola Cup round here in Toronto. And among other things, Terry, we've got a street circuit along the lakefront.
I've never raced here, Jim, but I love a street circuit. To me, it's a giant high-speed autocross with walls instead of pylons. We're going to take a ride around the track here. We have a long front straightaway down to third gear. You actually aim for the inside. There's a set of tires there, and you track out right against the wall. This is an increasing radius corner. This is the street that people drive on day in and day out. They just put walls up. So what happens is you have a lot of pavement changes, a lot of patches, a lot of cracks, a lot of manhole covers. You have grates to run across. You have off-camber, or in other words, it drops off at the outside edge so it can drain normally when it does rain for people to drive up and down this thing on the street every day. But unlike a real road course where you can run off, you can spin off, here there's no room for error. You make a mistake and you're in the wall somewhere.
It's an unforgiving racetrack, and it's going to be a sprint race, too. 45 minutes is all. No pit stops, no tire changes, no driver changes. Who's ever in the car at the start is going to go the whole way, and nobody has any time to take it easy. Let's take a look at our Speed Stick fastest qualifiers, and we've got quite a mix here. In the Grand Sport class on the pole in the 11 Pontiac Firebird, 22-year-old Devin Powell. James Yott and Bill Bergman, his teammates, are second and third in the field, by the way. In the sport class, we've got a 24-year-old Formula Car racer, Andy Lally, the 70 Z3 Coupe on the pole. In touring, well, the age goes up a little bit. 60-year-old Peter Schwartz drives the Acura, the number 71 car from the pole. Mark Hine and Will Nunemaker will line up second and third in the touring class. And back in compact, the 27 of Bob Beatty, followed by Mark Craig and Nancy Coletti. Lines up third in the number 12 Mazda Miata. We're all set for the start. The field slowly making their way around turn number 11 onto the start-finish line here at the Molson Indy Grounds.
The cars must stay lined up 2 by 2 until they get to the stripe. You're not allowed to pass. You're not allowed to pull out until the green flag drops. It's actually about a 7-car width piece of road here going down to this long front straightaway to turn 1. They're looking for the starter. They're looking for the start. They're all probably in second gear, and we have a green. They drop the yellow, literally drop the yellow, and we have a green.
This is usually a nightmare because right at the end of this start-finish straightaway, there's a 90-degree corner in the Porsche. The Denon car of Richard Spinard spins off the racetrack. He does a complete 360, though.
Doesn't look like he hurt the car. It looks like he may get restarted here. And here comes a Firebird in the meantime in the back of the pack. Comes from all the way from the back and takes out 3 cars. This is what we always dread, the first lap, first turn of any race. First thing we teach in school is nobody's ever won a race from the first turn. A lot of people lost them.
Hey, somebody got lost back there in a yellow Firebird from the look of things, trying to win it on the first lap, and well, he tangled up a whole bunch of people from the way things started out on lap number 1 in quarter 1. At the far end of the straightaway along Lakeshore Boulevard, the Sunoco cars run 1, 2, and 3, hot in pursuit. A BMW, then the 2 of the Coca-Cola Ford Mustangs. Another schmozzle at the end of Lakeshore.
Yeah, at the end of Lakeshore, again, it's that tight right-hand turn. It's more than a 90. Notice it goes uphill a little bit here, and it's sure easy to get turned around by your buddies. 2 yellow flags mean
a full course yellow. Nancy Coletti in the 12 and the 48 Ed Magner Oldsmobile.
This starts from the inside. The Ferrari moves over, gets a Mustang, which gets the Porsche. Porsche gets into the wall. I don't think it's hurt the car, but I hope not. It's an expensive hit. Could be. But the crash still continues to happen. There are so many cars trying to get in one spot at one time, and now we have about 4 cars piled up in this apex while the initial crash has gone on.
Boy, what a mess. Everybody trying to win this one right off the top. And at the other end, the 48 car goes around. I guess this is Frank Del Vecchio, gets turned around by the Honda, who hits him again.
Yeah, just in case the first time wasn't enough.
Close.
All right, we're on board with Steve Earle. He's in the Ferrari. He's on the outside coming to turn 1 at the green flag. Let's see what happens as he twitches to the right, gets into the Mustang just a little bit, but gets into the Porsche, and now, actually the Ferrari, he goes through unscathed. I believe he started it.
Wow, we'll take another look at it on board with Greg Wilkins with a camera on the front of that 0 Ford Mustang. One of the best seats in the house. Coming up toward quarter number 1. Here comes the Porsche right across his bow and takes out the camera.
Oh, my. And unfortunately, the Ferrari started it and he went on. Here comes the crash from the back straightaway. The compact class more or less got wiped out back here. Half of it did, as the Chiba is what we call dog tracking, where I come from.
And Nancy Coletti's little Mazda Miata is stopped still in the middle of quarter number 1 as well. It's been a wild start here in Toronto. We'll be back with more action and a green flag for you in just a minute. Welcome back. The lights are already off on the pace car. We're about set for race start.
And here's why we're having a restart. You know, turn 1, like we talked about earlier, too many cars trying to get in one spot, and boy, about 5 cars coming together as they're trying to turn right. It's an accordion effect. The guys in the back, they've been braking real late, you know, for 2 days now. All of a sudden, they got to brake back about 200 yards, and you sort of have to use your buddy in front of you. The key word to first turn is survival. You got to survive the first lap. You got to try to keep your fenders off everybody and fenders out of the wall, and it's just real tough. A lot of anxiety going on.
And the one car to watch, the 19 Porsche 993 of Richard Spinard, is 23rd, and we're green. Devin Powell gets a jump on the balance of the field and will lead them into turn number 1 under the green flag. At least this time, I don't think they're going to be 7 abreast. Anyway, watch out for Spinard, the number 19 Porsche, starting 23rd, carving his way through. The balance of the field makes it all the way through the first corner without incident this time. Apparently, it was a hard lesson to learn, but just about everybody picked up something from it, I think.
We still have 8 cars, real hard-fought battle for Grand Sports, going into Lakeshore Boulevard, real tight right-hand turn. Only 2 cars could go through here as little Mazda tries to tuck his nose back up inside the Mustang.
The race leaders into the hard left-hand corner right after that. That Mazda RX-7 steals away a spot from one of the red Ford Mustangs, as a matter of fact. He's really charging through the field as well.
You've got to try to maintain your position here. You can't give anybody anything. You know, you've got to use your car as hard as you can. It's a sprint race. You don't have many laps out here. You can't afford to hurt the car, but you can't give anybody you can't give them any quarter.
Oh, we've got a couple packs of cars. We got the yellow Sunoco Firebirds 1, 2, and 3. A little bit further back, we've got the red Coca-Cola Mustangs. There's 3 of those in our race as well. And sandwiched in between, the white BMW and the number 16 Mazda 2. Onto the front straightaway, the Mazda RX-7 sideways at the exit of turn number 11 down the straightaway, looking to the inside to see if there's any advantage once again. Actually, as much as anything, maybe he's doing a little defensive driving so that that Mustang doesn't steal a spot back.
It's a combination. He wants a spot on the BMW. He wants to get around that BMW, but he has to protect his flanks at the same time. Now the Mustang's running side by side. That's going to slow both those cars down as they vie for positions.
Two of the Sunoco Firebirds take off. The 31 falls back just a little bit. I believe that's James Yacht. Not in sync with the cars in front of him, and he's got all sorts of company. 4 cars looking for a way around that 31 Sunoco car.
The Mazda does tuck up inside. He used a great late brake maneuver. He's on the outside now, but this is going to be the preferred line. Remember, we talked about setup. He's on the proper line for this next left-hand turn, but a Firebird, the Yacht's going to try to get right back inside him. That dog won't hunt.
We've got a great battle on our hands, a sprint race. Nobody's giving anybody any quarter. But so far, after that schmozzle on lap number 1, everybody's managed to straighten it around, and they're driving as hard as we've seen anybody drive all weekend long.
Yeah, unlike the endurance race where you can sort of lay back a minute, look, see who's behind you, who's in front of you, and get your strategy. There's no strategy here. It's see that car in front of you, pass him.
The 54 BMW now gets around the 31 Sunoco Firebird, steals away that position, as there is lots of juggling going on. And somebody gets touched. The 54 BMW, a little slide sideways, as one of the Mustangs at least sticks the nose in there, but can't quite get the pass done.
Once you get around one of your street buddies, he lets you know that you passed him.
Yeah, sometimes they give you a little tap saying, hey, don't forget me just because you got around me once, because I'm going to be right here the next time you try it. Heading into turn number 1, the 54 BMW fending off a challenge from one of that trio of red Ford Mustangs back in there. Just amazing how close these guys come to those big, hard concrete walls.
You have to almost scrape the paint off the mirrors to run hard on this track. But while these guys are fighting back here, where are our 2 leaders? They have run away from this pack.
The 2 leaders are driving off into the distance, doing a great job of putting in some quick lap times, and there's somebody else that's doing a great job as well. Richard Spinard in that number 19 Porsche has been carving his way up through the field. Some of the slower cars around him initially, but already the car that was 23rd on that restart is now back up to 12th position.
This is a fabulous run here. The Porsches, they're designed to race. They do a great job on the street circuit. I'm amazed he was able to come through the pack this quickly.
Richard Spinard's got a habit of coming into this particular race, starting at the back of the pack and working his way toward the front, and it looks like he's on his way again.
Here's yesterday's winner, Andy Lawley in sports. He's leading again today.
We ride along with Andy into turn number 1.
He was one of the few guys that decided to drive both days.
Very few of the teams have actually done that, stuck with one driver, but he's doing a great job again today.
The Ferrari that was involved in that first turn accident, he's up to 10th right now.
And once again, let's look at our STP leaderboard. Lap number 7, Devin Powell, the race leader in the 11 car. In sport, it's Andy Lawley, the number 70 Z3 Coupe. In touring, Peter Schwartzon in the Acura Integra, car number 71, is that class leader. And in compact, Bob Beatty, the number 27 Honda Del Sol, leads. At the break, we'll be back with more from Toronto. Exhibition grounds in Toronto. A great battle shaping up as Richard Spinard's Porsche sneaks up on Stephen Earle's Ferrari.
2 of the nicest cars out here, beautiful cars. We have a mid-engine Ferrari, the rear-engine Porsche.
And to be totally honest, the biggest difference between these automobiles is probably the drivers. Now, Stephen Earle on one hand, well, he's a trained orthopedic surgeon. On the other side of that coin, Richard Spinard makes his living carving his way through the pack.
And he carves his way real well right here as he gets around the Ferrari. Of course, he knows this track. He's raced here a lot. He teaches here.
But Stephen Earle's got a rather unusual style. Terry, what do you think about the sawing of the wheel thing?
I'm not sure about wearing that little bearing out in that steering wheel right there. He sort of steers it in, and then he straightens it back out again. That's an old Mickey Rooney trick.
An unusual way to get around the racetrack, and it appears as though Richard Spinard might be a little bit smoother and quicker the way things are going so far. As again, into turn number 1, Richard Spinard steals away another place.
As things heat up, that Porsche is going to be right there. It's got great brakes, great tires. That's one of the smoothest cars out there. Spinard knows what he's doing.
Certainly does, and he's now up to 8th position. He just got by the 0 Ford Mustang of Greg Wilkins. Battle for second continues. Benoit Teach in the 16 car just getting by Bill Berggren. The race leader, Devin Powell, in the 11 car, and in hot pursuit, we've got a crash on Lakeshore again. In turn 3.
It's easy to do. It's off camber right there. There's a jump right at the exit, and it's easy for 2 cars to get together. Ooh, a lot of smoke out of the Firebird.
I think we've got a bent body panel on that Firebird rubbing against one of those Hoosier tires. And we'll just have to wait and see whether or not that condition clears up or they'll have to make a stop. And now at the top side of the circuit, it appears as though Stephen Earle is trying to chase down the 0 Ford Mustang as well and get by Greg Wilkins. Wilkins fading slightly in this race. The Porsche's already gotten by, and now Stephen Earle and the other of the exotic cars in our contest today trying to make his mark on the top 5 as well.
That'd be the prancing horse chasing the Mustang.
We got a bit of a horse race going on. James Yacht, the 31 car, a stop-and-go penalty in a long pit lane.
They claim he jumped the restart, so let's see what if we can get a replay on this.
Looks like a 10-second stop-and-go penalty for his trouble.
And he pulls out. He pulls out beside the other car, but by the time he gets to the stripe, I'm not sure. It was pretty heads up there. You're not allowed to pass till you get to the stripe.
It was a very close call nonetheless. James Yacht, after concurring with the officials for just a minute, is back out under power on the racetrack.
The problem is he tried to discuss it with the official. You don't ever discuss a black flag with an official. You can talk about that later because your buddies aren't waiting for you while you're having a consultation.
We've got a great battle out front. We've got Mustangs, Chevrolet Camaros, and of course this Porsche sneaking into the mix. And the Ferrari is not out of this one by any stretch yet either. There's lots of battles going on out in the racetrack. As a matter of fact, touring class is heating up to be one of the better ones out on the circuit as well.
Our touring leader right now is Peter Schwartzeit, 60-year-old. He's a retired art professor. His son is his crew chief. It's a family affair. He has a great job. He raced with us, raced with Dick Starita. We've been buddies for a long time. But he is right there. He could win any day on any Sunday.
The man's got a ton of experience and a whole bunch of skill as well. Peter Schwartzeit in the 71 Acura. On board now with the Ferrari of Dr. Stephen Earle as he winds around the race course.
Still whipping on that wheel. He'll wear that bearing out in that steering column, I guarantee it. But now he straightens it out on the straight. This has got to be a fun car to drive. It's got to be a great sounding car from inside. You know it's got all the brakes in the world. You know, he doesn't need a parachute. But right now he does. But look, he has missed his brake point here. He goes straight. Boy, I tell you, good move there. Good move. He finally does use the brakes. He's going to turn it around. He's got oncoming facing traffic. Boy, a rare mistake here from Steve Earle. Doesn't want to hurt that car.
Yeah, with a $125,000 race car, I mean, taking the escape road is not a decision.
No, it was a great option in this case. But a pretty rare mistake. He was running by himself.
Was driving real hard. After he got passed by Richard Spinard, I have a feeling he was trying to pick up the pace just a little bit, and maybe a little bit too much.
He might have overheated that steering bearing. I noticed Andy Lawley. We just passed Andy. He was our sports leader. He won yesterday. He's driving again today. This could hurt him in the points if he doesn't finish his race.
Devin Powell, our race leader in the 11 Sunoco Firebird, and all over the back bumper of that car, he's got that silver Mazda RX-7 of Benoit Tige. The silver 16 car is sneaking up on the race leader and pushing him hard. Onto the front straightaway, the Sunoco number 11 car of Devin Powell, driving it for all he's worth. Could it be that this big, heavy Pontiac Firebird will run out of tires before our 45-minute time limit is up?
But the Mazda hopes. The Mazda's right there. You know, Devin's father, he's been a driving coach for many, many years up here in Canada. Well respected, and the kid comes by it honestly.
Certainly got a lot of experience behind the wheel. The 70 BMW is slowed and now stopped out on the race course after a win yesterday. That means we've got a new leader in the sports class, Stephen Goodbody in his Porsche 944.
You don't see many of these anymore. These were great race cars, a well-balanced street car, but not a whole lot of power. Biggest difference here, this is a front motor car compared to the rear engine of the 993.
Actually, both of these cars, the 993 of Spinard and the 944 of Goodbody, entered by the same McHale Racing team. So far this afternoon, having a pretty good day. Richard Spinard driving to the inside of Greg Wilkins in the 0 Ford Mustang. Down the front straightaway. Wilkins doesn't let him get away with it this time around. That's an interesting battle. These cars trading positions now side by side down the front straight again.
This is a classic battle of a big V8 motor against handling. As we come into the hard braking zone, notice how well that Porsche stops, gets it turned, but we're about to begin a long straightaway. Porsche spins the tires a little bit. Mustang is just ready to let that V8 eat.
Richard Spinard earlier on telling us how the Mustangs and the Firebirds had a little more grunt down the straightaway. Just watch. Just like that, Greg Wilkins back out in front of Richard Spinard. Now he drives to the inside. He's not going to let him take him, at least not going to let him do it the easy way anyhow.
No, he pulls over so he can't pass him back onto the braking zone here. If he can keep that Porsche behind him in the tight stuff, like this area right now, he might be able to get a little breathing room, but I doubt it.
A great battle between two diametrically opposed automobiles. The rear-engine European handling braking Porsche and the good old-fashioned Detroit iron horsepower of the Ford Mustang. little bit of a mistake out on the race course. The 30 car, Bill Berggren, takes the escape road and is never seen again.
Has to buy a ticket to get back in.
Maybe so. We'll be back with more action. What a great battle. The Mustang and the Porsche, the Motorola Cup round in Toronto. Welcome back. We're nearing the halfway point in our Motorola Cup round, a 45-minute battle of Toronto. This is the battle for fourth spot, as a matter of fact. One of the Hyundai Tiburons gets bounced around as he kind of gets sandwiched in there for just a second. Greg Wilkins in the Zero Coca-Cola Ford Mustang holding off the Porsche 993 of Richard Spinard that started this race on the restart right after a big crash on lap number 1 in 23rd spot. Now up to 5th and battling for 4th. The race leader is Devin Powell and the Grand Sport Pontiac Firebird. Literally been running away with this race while everyone else behind them is having all sorts of problems today.
Anytime you have a two-car battle, you're going to slow each other down. You know, you saw the Porsche and the Mustang trying to pass each other in every corner, but that Firebird's out in clear air.
A little bit further back, we got the 54 BMW, that silver Mazda RX-7 Turbo, the 16 car, coming down Lakeshore Boulevard. Now appearing in the picture, here come the 0 and 19 car. The Ford Mustang and the Porsche aren't far behind the Mazda RX-7.
Yeah, 2nd through 5th is going to be a tight battle here momentarily.
Some of the compact cars beginning to play a part in this one as the race leaders have to pick their way through the crowd. The blue flags fly for them, and for the most part, they see them coming and give them a clear shot around the corners.
Yeah, the guys do the best they can to let the faster cars by when they can. And a lot of times you can actually lead through the slower stuff and not hurt yourself at all.
Mike Fitzgerald in that 54 BMW stayed out of harm's way all day long in much the same manner that Devin Powell has. He's driven a nice, steady, consistent race, but this battle for 3rd is now a 3-car contest down the straightaway.
3 totally different cars here, too. They're all rear drive cars, but we've got a rear engine car, we've got a V8, and we've got that turbo rotary.
Boy, look at that Ford SVT come down that straightaway. Just disposes of the Mazda RX-7 Turbo. The Mazda at one point was supposed to be a real fast car in a straight line, and he's got a problem.
Makes a teeny mistake in the braking zone. He thinks he's going to have the inside line, can't quite get it shut down, and loses 2 spots.
Catching up to the race leader again across the start-finish stripe one more time, the 11 Sunoco Firebird of Devin Powell. We can see now crossing the line, the 54 Mike Fitzgerald BMW runs in 2nd, and Richard Spinard in the Porsche has gotten by Greg Wilkins finally for the 3rd spot, as everybody has to deal with some of the backmarkers, dealing with some of the touring and compact class cars around the race circuit.
Yeah, ideally you want to lead through traffic. That Porsche wanted to get ahead of that Mustang before they got the slower cars because it's easy to use them as a pick and maybe get some distance between you and that car behind you.
Carving their way through the traffic, that's what it's all about in the closing stages of our contest here. It's a very narrow racetrack. There's no place to go, and if somebody forces you off the racing line, you can't drive through the grass around these parts.
No, there's nowhere to go. You have to be real careful with that. But it's a law of the jungle out here. The big cars have their way.
The number 19 car now beginning to close in just a little bit on that white BMW. Mike Fitzgerald now sees the silver hood of that blue and silver Porsche beginning to sneak up on him. Richard Spinard is closing in on the race leader. Peter Schwartzod leads in the touring class in the Acura Integra.
Yeah, it's Mark Hine in the 38 car from Clearwater, Florida, right behind him.
Those 2 cars having a pretty spirited battle on the afternoon. 1 and 2 in the touring class, and they've had things pretty much their own way, although Mark Hine hasn't been able to make too big an impression on the old veteran behind the wheel of that 71 car. Crash out on the race circuit, the 51 Mazda.
Speaking of impressions, he's left one on that wall.
It looks as though he just got the car a little bit loose coming into the braking zone, and away it went.
Yeah, we get a replay. I'm not sure he didn't have a little help turning the car around. That's a weird place to turn a front drive car around. And he slams the left side wall, sort of pancakes the car. May not be hurt too badly.
As long as he hasn't changed the alignment too bad in the rear. Here comes Richard Spinard, an inside line move on Mike Fitzgerald.
This has to be for 2nd place. Yeah, this got to be a battle for 2nd place now, all the way from 23rd. What a run.
Incredible. Richard Spinard now up into 2nd position. We'll see if the BMW can fight back the same way the Ford Mustang did for lap after lap down the straightaway, and I don't think the BMW's got anything for him.
Nah, no way. Nowhere near what the motor the Mustang has, and the brakes are just as good or better than that Porsche.
Stephen Goodbody, now the leader in the sport class, and he is running pretty much all by himself this afternoon, too. The McHale Motorsports 944 entry.
This team has shown well for itself. They are leading the 1st place in sports, 2nd place in grand sports. What a day.
And the story of the race has to be that, hey, is this car, the 19 car with some smoke all of a sudden, he's rearranged the front end of that car now.
Oh, my. This car has hit the wall somewhere after we just bragged about the car. What a beautiful run, and he's taking the right front off of that car.
I wonder if he had some help, Richard Spinard, with a broken Porsche 993. We'll get another look at it coming down the end of Lakeshore Boulevard.
Into Lakeshore Boulevard, he tucks it in, and, oh, he's a little bit...
He clipped the wall. He clipped the wall on the inside
wall, and it throws him to the outside. It's what we call clipping the apex, but we don't really mean to take that literally. You can't afford to hurt the car. You know, we talked earlier about treating it like pylons, but you can't hit it. And he hit the right side wall, hit the apex, knocked the right front off the car.
Another driver with a problem out on the racetrack. The 34 with a little misalignment there. We'll get another look at it as he slides it sideways. Alain Lozier in that 34 Honda Prelude makes a little bit of a mistake and touches the wall. He's touched every single corner of that car, I think.
He's still got one turn signal left, but something has happened to the rear of this car that made that car slam into the wall. The right rear came loose, and it threw him into the wall, and he bounced back across the track. At least he's sponsored by a body shop.
I'm afraid he's going to need a little body work before this afternoon is over. We'll be back with more action from the Molson Indy round of the Motorola Cup in just a moment. Welcome back to the Toronto Indy round number 5 of the Motorola Cup. Out front, the number 11 Sunoco Firebird of Devin Powell. As far as the Motorola Cup, what exactly does it take to build a race car? Well, we sent Terry Earwood out to find out.
You'd like to go showroom stock racing, it's pretty easy. We take a box stock car, spend a little bit of money, mainly on safety-related items, and we can run in the Motorola Cup. Inside, we have mainly safety features. We take out the carpet, we don't need that. Passenger seat, nobody's going to ride with us anyway. We have a nice racing steering wheel. It's a much smaller diameter. It gives us a lot better feel for what the front tires are doing all the time. On the steering wheel, we have this radio button, so when we depress it, we can talk to our crew chief back in the pits. Full roll cage in case we do turn it over. We have this nice bar on the side. It's a driver protection bar. Notice that the door is cut out to accept that bar, so the door slam around this side protection bar. These really help. Basically, we're pretty stark otherwise. We're allowed, we have to keep a fair amount of the dash in the car, but and we have to run this fire extinguisher or fire bottle, which sprays on the driver. There's a quick pin that we pull as we leave in case something does get a little warmer than we need it to. We add some brake ducting to keep the brakes cooler because we're on the track for about 3 hours at a time during the race. A couple little engine modifications, and we're competitive.
We ride on board with our race leader, Devin Powell. And Terry, it had to be a big advantage starting from the pole today.
Especially on a street circuit, because you need to get out there in what we call clear air. There's nobody around you. You've seen everybody. You've seen a lot of attrition today, a lot of damage, a lot of people trying to move those walls around. But the leader, the pole sitter, he's got nobody to fight but himself.
As far as leading the compact class, Bob Beatty in that number 27 Honda Del Sol, again, has done a real nice job, stayed out of trouble, made sure the Grand Sport and Sport class cars have had a lot of room, but for the most part, no problems. Richard Spinard explaining to Johnny Panico what happened to the Porsche today.
Well, this is one of the hardest things in motorsports, trying to tell the car owner or crew chief what happened to the car out there. It's like bringing your dad's car home with a bruise on it and trying to go up to the door and figuring out what you're going to say next.
The other side of the coin, Devin Powell has run a flawless race. The 11 Sunoco Firebird continues to circulate, and it doesn't have a mark on it. About as perfect as a race can get, as a matter of fact. Devin Powell started from the pole, had a nice clean racetrack in front of him, even on the restart, and he's played that to his advantage at every turn.
And he's doing a nice job. However, now he's running up into a battle. We see Mark Hine fighting Lance Stewart. You know, those guys are fighting for position in the touring class, so he has to be very careful that he doesn't interfere with their race, and yet he cannot let them hold him up.
And hold him up is maybe what they've done just a little bit, as we now realize that coming into the view, that 54 BMW is sneaking into the picture too. Mike Fitzgerald in the 54 Bombardier aircraft sponsored car is running in second spot, and he might be running just a little bit quicker than Devin Powell is. Devin's had this race in his back pocket the whole way, and maybe he's been taking it maybe just a little too easy over the last lap or two.
And Mike has kept that car nice all day. We haven't seen him slide it around, haven't seen him beat it up, you know, but also Powell has been in traffic. So, but now Fitzgerald has to get up to the compact, to the touring cars.
Another car that's in this hunt, the Zero car of Greg Wilkins. Now, he is in the hunt for the Drivers' Championship, too. Greg can't afford to let anybody get too far out of his sight. The Zero Coca-Cola car still in the hunt, running in third spot as he slides the car around toward the tight part of the racetrack. Still working really hard. It looks as though the racetrack's getting a little bit slippery at this point.
Well, late in the day, you know, these cars run hard, 45 minutes worth on those tires, so the tire's about to give up a little bit, even though, because it's near race rubber. Here's our leader in sports. You know, Andy Lawley, when he fell out in the BMW, has now handed over the lead to this 944 Porsche. This was a Grand Sports car originally. Front motor car, a water-cooled car. These were very competitive cars over the years, but as the V8 cars got faster and faster, as they gave them more modifications, Porsche couldn't quite cut it in Grand Sports, so they dropped it back into the sports category. And the car's doing a great job.
Welcome back. The final couple of laps headed for the finish here in Toronto. The second place BMW M3 slowly but surely sneaking into the picture as far as the front runner is concerned. Devin Powell in the 11 car just out in front of this 54 BMW. Mike Fitzgerald trying to apply as much pressure as he possibly can in the closing stages of our race.
Yeah, we talk about brakes and talk about tires. The M3 is one of the best street fighters in the world. On street circuit, you know, he's kept the car cool, kept it clean. Fitzgerald out of Atlanta, a real good, smooth driver. He might reel his Firebird in.
Boy, it's not going to be for lack of trying, as we watched just a minute ago as Mike Fitzgerald slid the car sideways through turn number 11. Mike's trying real hard, there's no doubt about it, and Devin Powell realizes that he's coming up behind him. There are actually two BMWs back there. One is the sport class car. Another of the sport class cars going a lap down is the number 9 Lexus GS 400. Sport class machine gives Devin just enough room to get by, but doesn't want to slow down too much because he doesn't want to lose any ground to the 14 BMW behind him.
No, in this tight area, hopefully keep at Lexus between these cars. The Lexus, one of the few automatic transmission cars in the world. Quentin Wall used to race with us in our series. You see Quentin in the number 81 BMW. Oh, he hits that bump, turns it around, and Wall, don't tell me, slams the wall. Oh, my. It's a classic hook slide. Once you get a car sliding in one direction, all that energy stores up, slams back in the other direction. Little brakes have gone a long way.
It seems as though the car is all right, though. He's wrinkled the front corner of it just a touch as the race leader continues to motor on without any such dramatics. Now catching up on the 27th, the Honda Del Sol, which leads compact, moves to the inside, puts him a lap down nonetheless. The Del Sol in for a nice finish today as well. The BMW goes by. He's got to get by some of the back markers as well if he's going to make an impression on Devin Powell before the checkered flag.
Yeah, the Del Sol, those little cars, they know that the leaders are coming. They want to get them by as cleanly as possible. They don't want to upset their race. They don't lose any momentum. So you try to get the fast guys by when your hands are straight, when you're not in the corners.
Bill Berggren with a mistake down at the end of Lakeshore Boulevard, locks up the rear brakes and then just gets the nose of the car down the escape route, tries to slide it around, and he is back underway again.
Nice job of saving the car. It's what we call a mismatched downshift. Now we've locked the front wheels up. Will Nonamaker here has locked the front tire. He was in his rearview mirrors thinking that Firebird was going to dive inside him, and he missed his braking point.
Now we look at the battle for second place in sport class. The number 14 Howie Liebengood BMW just in front of the number 9 Chuck Goldsboro Lexus GS 400. A real close battle. A little smoke coming out from underneath the Lexus, though.
Pretty unusual cars here. Oh, lots of smoke. There would be no mosquitoes in Toronto for a while as the Lexus. This is an automatic transmission car. The Lexus looks like it expires its engine right near the end.
Oh, that's too bad because they were looking for a real nice finish, at least a podium finish as far as that Lexus crew is concerned. They've been working real hard to sort out that car over the course of the season, and it looked as though today might have been their day for a nice finish.
Here comes our leader driving into the smoke, and you see the debris flag, but you're always wondering, is this oil, transmission fluid, antifreeze? You have to be so careful as the laps wind down.
Just a couple laps left, and you can bet that Devin Powell is hearing every knock and noise in that number 11 Sunoco Firebird. The race has been his since a green flag. All he's got to do now is keep it in a straight line and between the walls.
Yeah, he's done a great job since the start. Like we said, he got out there in clean air where he didn't have to fight anybody and just never look back.
Literally, it ain't over till it's over, and this team knows that more than any. Just a couple rounds back at Mosport, we watched Doug Goad in this same number 11 Pontiac Firebird with less than half a lap to go. Had the race well in hand. The second place car was well behind, out of sight of his rearview mirror for that matter. Came around with less than half a lap to go, and the car expired. It died at the exit of turn number 5 back at Mosport. And the crew maybe has learned a lesson or two, and I don't know what exactly they've done, but this car certainly looks as strong now as it did at the start. Just 2 laps to go for Devin Powell.
But you're still always worried about that. You know, we talk about the, hearing the knocks and the cracks and the bumps and the thumps, but you're always scared to death. You have your fingers crossed, your toes crossed the last couple of laps. You know you've been clean, and you can't lose your concentration here. You get so nervous, it's easy to lose your concentration on what you have to do with that race car.
Devin Powell not the only one with things seemingly well in hand, trying to concentrate on just getting the job done. Stephen Goodbody in the sport class, Porsche 944, leading this one as he has through most of the contest. His biggest competitor, that number 70, BMW Z3 Coupe, fell by the wayside relatively early on in this one. This race has been his to bring home. He's only got a lap more to go. Devin Powell continues to circulate in much the same manner as he has done over the course of the day. Is he going to be short shifting this time?
Yeah, I think so. He's not using the car whatsoever. You know, he's short shifting the car, being sure he's got plenty of gas, and we know that anyway, and not risking hurting anything on his automobile. Just a couple of corners left, looking for that magic checkered flag.
Coming through 10, now up into corner number 11 in just a moment. The Sunoco Firebird of Devin Powell, the pole sitter. Leader from the green flag comes down the front straightaway. The crew stands by. The checkered flag waves, and Devin Powell wins. The number 11 Sunoco Firebird has won both ends of our doubleheader weekend here in Toronto. Doug Gold won yesterday. It was Devin's turn today. In the number 80 Porsche 944, Stephen Goodbody finishes through those last couple of corners as well, and will take the victory as far as the sport class is concerned today.
Back in touring, looking for the 71 car, Peter Schwartzeit, Bob Endicott, once again taking the same little Acura to the winner's circle.
They've done a great job again today. Peter Schwartzeit driving that Acura Integra around, and if you look really close, I don't think there's a mark on that car either. And in compact, it was Bob Beatty's day this afternoon. In the Honda Del Sol, the Bill Fenton Motorsports entry, Bob Beatty did a great job with the number 27 cars. The race leader comes down pit lane, will park the car, and get congratulations from everybody in the team. We'll be back in the winner's circle at the Motorola Cup round at Toronto in a moment. Motorola's involvement in racing is a very hands-on one. All the drivers on the race today have been in constant wireless communication with their pit crews. But Motorola has stretched its vision far above the racetrack, pioneering the world's first truly global wireless communications network. The Iridium low Earth orbiting satellite system provides coverage to every square inch of the globe. It's built for those folks who live and work in the 90% of the world not served by conventional networks. Check it out at Motorola.com. Our StarTech star of the race, Devin Powell. Pretty happy about the way things have turned out, I'd say.
A great weekend for these two guys.
Motorsport, Pennzoil, Sunoco, Pontiac Firebird ran just superb. The wind was gliding over that ASC hood. You wouldn't believe. Great aerodynamics down the straight, and a car put together by a fantastic crew.
Our other StarTech class winners in sports, Stephen Goodbody in his 944.
Peter Schwartzeit in the Acura Integra.
And in compact today, Bob Beatty, the 27 Honda Del Sol.
My son's crew chief right here.
Bob Beatty, the winner in the Honda Del Sol, won the compact class today. A tough one.
It was hot. It was a tough race. Pressure all day long, all the different TS cars coming by and trying to find the line and sticking, and it was a lot of fun.
Our Derringer Forward Motion Award winner, Mike Neville, in the Grand Sport number 28 Acura NSX, picked up no less than 9 positions on the course of the day today. Well, we saw the checkered flag, but the race isn't quite over. We had a bizarre twist. We'll be back with that story in just a moment. So all's well that ends well. Peter Schwartzeit's car ended up in tech, and Peter does win his class eventually. But the winner overall today in Grand Sport here at the Toronto Indy Round, Devin Powell in the number 11 Pontiac Firebird, Mike Fitzgerald second, Greg Wilkins third in the Ford Mustang.
In the sports category, in the 944 Porsche, Stephen Goodbody brings it home first, while Howie Liebengood comes in second, and John Barassa in the Acura Integra is third.
In touring today, the winner, Peter Schwartzeit, the 71 Acura Integra, eventually. Mark Hine finishes second in his Honda Prelude, and Will Nunemaker takes home the third-place trophy for the 41 Mazda 626.
And bringing up the compact class, Bob Beatty brings the Honda Del Sol home in first place, while Kevin Banau is second in the Honda Civic, and Lamont Matchmar is third in the Mazda Miata.
For Terry Airwood, I'm Jim Martin saying so long from Toronto. The Motorola Cup has been brought to you by Motorola, the web without wires. By Derringer, complete logistics solutions. And by Hoosier Tires, tires designed for champions.